Hello, everybody.
Hello. All right. After we get, we'll probably explain why we're snickering and
Yeah.
whatever and what just happened. But let me go ahead and start. All right. The first item is your mission possible, balancing internal and external beliefs. Universal law, your intent, and your mission are all ingrained and inherent in you. Right and wrong, morals, ethics, and your place in this world are all taught to you from birth. Where these differ are what you are in the process of reconciling into what is labeled good and bad. The purpose of reconciling is to find a place of balance where you can feel joy and happiness and sustain it. Balance for you is that path where external demands on you find equilibrium with your internal directives for why and how you intend to live. In essence, it's you choosing to believe in only that which fosters your inherent intent, or more simply, your external beliefs find harmony with your internal beliefs. This means questioning everything you've been taught against what you feel inside and clearing out anything that doesn't lift you up or assist in clarifying your mission of why you are here. In this process, you'll adjust what's good and bad according to your intent.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what I started with. I wrote that, I don't know, Monday? Yeah, Monday. So I thought I knew where it was going. I guess I kind of do.
It links.
I guess it does.
Yeah, to me it links with their last one.
All right.
With your last one that you read. Well, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll read that because that's what I was thinking too. All right. So I wrote this poem just now. I mean,
5 minutes ago.
Like, and I read it to them before we started the video because I was thinking, I don't know what to do with this. So they said, okay. So I said, okay, I'll read it. So belief is your power. Belief is the fire that powers your soul. It can lift you up higher or set flame to the whole. It may let in the good, but can flood in the bad. How that's understood, this power she's had, is to rally your mind around the fuel of your will. That's where you'll find the start of the hill. To apply your will up, you give it some gas. Out of your cup, how much belief that it has. If it has enough, the needle will move, but will become rough if you have nothing to prove. Belief without will is a mountain to climb, but if it has fill, you'll be cruising in time.
Yeah, that's really good. It's really good.
I disagree, but
well, to me, it speaks of how complex and how everything works together. Your belief, your intent, your cup needs to be filled. You know, all of those together powers you forward. And if any of those one is not able to be missing, and you have the movement forward, it really is the blending of all of those things.
Trying to get them balanced across instead of one being low and high and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a picture when I was writing this somewhere in the process of having a wheelbarrow and trying to push it up a hill. And in front of that wheelbarrow is another wheelbarrow connected to that wheelbarrow and another wheelbarrow in front of that one. So you're trying to push it up the hill.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And so one is your intent, one is your will, and one is the set of your beliefs.
Yes. and they all need to be kind of lined up, or you're
Or
not
they
going to,
just
and they won't be
Yeah.
always lined up.
Right,
They're going to move. So,
but
yeah.
this didn't go.
Mhm.
I'm
I like it. It speaks.
I like it too. Me too.
okay. I mean, I'm willing to go with it. I wasn't. I had X'd it out. I was not
Mhm.
going to do it,
Mhm.
and you guys said to read it. So
Yeah,
okay,
I really like it.
there you go.
I like it too.
Now this is the other one. This is the other one I haven't read for you.
Okay.
Okay, so
Mhm.
and I just wrote this one today.
Okay.
I told
You're
them,
blowing your own mind.
I don't want to be a poet. I'd rather be a kite flyer. But this is what's coming through. Okay. So this is called Why Can't This Be?
Mhm.
If all the world's an illusion, why do I see a world full of strangers trying to be closer to you and reaching for me?
Mm.
Why did we set this world on a course of obtaining our needs only through force when all of our wants come from one source? If all the world's an illusion, why do I feel left on my own as part of the deal, with few of any pleasures I wish to make real? While I continue to struggle to make the ends meet, with each morning's sunrise, its heartache I greet, as many of us abide the others who cheat. If all the world's an illusion, why do I hear there's more of us lost and saddled in fear, in attempting to live for something to cheer? Are we not better than to live this low down? Shouldn't we, like, I don't know, dress up the town? Invite the fairies, the dragons, ETs, and maybe a clown to enliven this world of our own make-belief, settle all our accounts and pour out relief. Kick out the turds, ask a shaman to be chief. If all the world's an illusion, here's what I desire. Spray paint it on walls and make up a flyer. Let's focus on this and get out of the mire. Build communities of tomorrow and do it this day. Hire those skilled and able to trade for their pay. Consult with our spirit guides and see what they say. Enough with the politicos and their kingdoms of war. It's now time to find people who've opened their door to find in their hearts a place to explore. Close the old for winter and open the new to spring. Return yourself to fantasy and what imagination may bring. If all the world's an illusion, why can't freedom ring?
Mm.
Now I apologize. That's probably only the second time I read it all the way through. So the cadence started breaking down a little bit.
That's good. Yeah, it's like we can create if it's an illusion, and we create. Why aren't we creating why aren't we creating this wonderland that we want? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what that one's about.
Yeah.
Is why can't this be? Why can't we? If we did all this, then why can't we do all of that?
Mm-hmm. Well, if you link that to the poem you read just prior, it's the alignment of beliefs and will and fire and.
Okay.
That's why we're not.
believe you.
We're working on it, but we can do it if we can get those aligned and yeah, I think that's beautiful.
I do too.
We can do it now. We said
I
desire.
I believe you.
I do too. It's just I keep being reminded that I'm human, and it's like that's why. Because I'm like, why can't I just be magical all the time? And they're like, because you're here to learn human things, so you've got to sometimes be a human. And it's then I'm like, but no, I don't want to be a human. But I chose to be a human.
Now I've gone through that same thought process,
before.
but here's where I went with it. you are performing magic right now.
Mhm.
You just aligned your standard to what you're doing, and
Mhm.
so it doesn't look like magic.
Right.
But to cavemen, what we do
like
would look
magic.
like magic.
Yes.
Oh, and seriously, like it was what 9 years ago. I used to sit and wish I didn't have to leave my house if I didn't want to, and I could still work and do whatever. And that's what I have now. You know, I mean, I manifested this
Yeah.
exact life. Exactly what I have. I thought about it, and this is what I wanted. And sometimes I'm like, oh, this is not what I want. And I'm like, but wait a minute, this is exactly what I wanted and thought into existence.
Yeah.
Yeah, and interactions on a daily basis now. If I find myself getting where, oh, I don't like this, and I start thinking, okay, how do I want it to be? And I can project that, and it changes,
Mhm.
it shifts. It
Yeah.
shifts the feeling about it and the emotion about it, and it can even change the behavior that the other person's experience or showing to me. So it is in a way magic. And if it's,
Sure.
you can follow that feeling and figure out where's your intent directing. Because if it's
Yeah.
out there directing, you really realize where your intent's directing by what is happening outside of you. And if you don't like
Yeah.
it, then go inside, check that intent and direction and what you're believing about the situation, and
Mhm.
kind of resettle that, and then walk into it again. And it can be very different, even
It's
with the same.
crazy too. Like even lately, I mean, just with Mercury retrograde, bringing up things that might not necessarily be comfortable. I'm like thriving in it, even though it's quote unquote uncomfortable. I like it because I know it's like I'm learning something and it's stuff I need to go through. So I'm like enjoying the not being comfortable, which is kind of crazy. Whereas before I was like, oh, I can't stand to not be comfortable. Now I'm like, yeah, let's do this.
Mhm.
Well, you're redefining what comfort is.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, because
Mhm.
that's really, to me, that speaks to belief.
Mhm.
Mm.
What do you believe comfort is? What do you
Yeah.
believe discomfort is?
Mhm.
What do you
Yeah.
believe is good? What do you believe is bad? What do you believe is evil? What do you believe, works for
Yeah.
you? What do you believe works against you?
Mhm.
It's you're modifying your beliefs in order so that you can turn your ship and
Yeah.
go in the direction you want to go, instead of following
Mhm.
what all the pressure from society has put on you to go the course that they've set for you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
For some
Exactly.
reason, I got the image of a weight, like a dumbbell or something. That's like
What
if
you
we,
call me? What? Did I miss something?
yeah, maybe that's why I got that now. But when we go to lift a dumbbell, we're not mad at the weight for making it difficult.
Mm-mm.
We are wanting to do that because it's building that muscle. So we
Yeah.
welcome the weight and we welcome the resistance so that we can build that muscle.
And we try to get it so we can lift even more.
Yeah.
We try
When
to
it comes
get it
to
strong so we can
emotion,
even handle more weight.
yeah, but when it comes to emotional strength, it's like we shy away from putting ourselves in those situations where we
We don't
are
want to exercise
right,
those muscles.
exactly.
Right. I seem to like exercising those muscles quite.
It's like the people. It's like the guys that work out their chest and their biceps, but they never do their legs.
Right. Yeah, it's like, I don't want to work that muscle. That's uncomfortable. And it's like, but you want to be stronger and you want to be more fortified and you want to grow, then,
It's funny. The rest of my body's a lumpy potato, but my heart's like a bodybuilder inside.
The lumpy bodybuilder. Oh my gosh, that's good. Oh boy. Oh, leave it to Jenny. Oh,
It's funny.
oh, that was good.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Well, it's all in how you see things.
Yep.
Your belief and your
Yeah.
resistance, and yeah, is it against you or for you?
All right, here's the last one, and this is another poem. This is the one
Mm.
I read to Gina already. It's called Thinking We're So Different.
Mm.
Among the people we're all alone, are you not different, as thinking has shown? Why must you tell a tale of two stories? Is it the worries of lost and gained glories? Haven't you settled on why you are here? To gain one perspective beyond the taught fear. Isn't it true, your thoughts free to be? How am I not you, but you are like me? If we were once one and the same, did we become two to play in this game? Under that guise, are my thoughts not my own? Am I not different, as thinking has shown? So why do I feel this pressure to think as you think, to drink as you drink? Wouldn't it make sense to have my own thought, to expanding my own vision, to becoming less taught? While you seek to find your own mind, to establish a you, to grind from the blind, where I can be me and you can be you, separate and free, with sources our glue. So isn't it clear from these thoughts I have sown? Are we not different, as thinking has shown? Through passage of time and a means to an end, we accepted our fate of a life to defend. Hijacking our thought, they inserted revision, brought about derision through social division. They stopped looking in their project of glass. It was their fear of the awakening mass. From the focus of power and sitting the throne, are they not different, as thinking has shown? By now we have seen our faces laid bare. What was once thought hidden will ignite as a flare. Now it's time to recoup, to forget all that mattered, building the bridges for the shards that have scattered. Reattaching the fallen pieces, now a calling to begin. Once thought as time's end is a mending from within. The belief will grow into a flow that we know we are not so different as our thinking will show.
That's really good. That is really good.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. You're a poet, Tim. Sorry.
I'm a poet, but I didn't know it.
It was very good. And we when you read that the other day, if you highlight those, I am different, and it's really interesting the flow of that.
Because she didn't
Mhm.
realize it until I pointed it out, which
Yeah.
I can't blame anyone, because it's while you're reading it, you may not pick up every single word, but the first
Stanza, I guess.
the first two lines, among the people are all alone, are you not different, as thinking has shown? Then down further it says, under that guise, are my thoughts not my own? Am I not different, as thinking has shown? Then the next one of that kind says, so isn't it clear from these thoughts I have sown, are we not different, as thinking has shown? And then down further, from the focus of power and sitting the throne, are they not different, as thinking has shown? And then the last one is, the belief will grow into a flow that we know we are not so different, as our thinking will show.
Yeah, because it shows for me, it shows the varying layers of separation that we've had in order to have this experience. But we're remembering and remembering ourselves, putting it back together into the whole, as thinking will show, as things come along.
Right, and that's why the title is Thinking We're So Different.
Yeah, that's really good.
It's in the thinking. Thinking we're so different, but thinking we're so different.
our thinking is like lenses. So, I mean, if you look at a prism, it takes a light ray, and the prism causes the rays to separate into the colors. And it's like our thinking is that structure that causes that separation, you know, that. And so as we, you know, understand that and start to pull that back through the prism, we get to see we are all part of that same light ray.
Right. And our thinking is affected by our beliefs.
Which are taught to us from birth. If you
Right.
think of the poem.
Right. And that's why the first one was internal beliefs versus external beliefs. External beliefs, that's external. That's stuff that the source was external. It was something that was taught to you versus your internal beliefs, which are inherent in you.
Yeah.
But those were all covered up, you know, it got convoluted with all the external things that were taught to us.
Yeah. When you said the source, I was thinking it's actually the source in here versus the source of, you know, where it's coming from out
Well,
here.
it is,
So
yeah, but it's
a difference.
It's up to us to reconcile that,
yes,
the external source with the internal source, so that, I mean, source didn't send us all here to all play the same role and believe the same thing and do the same thing. That's, I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. What makes sense,
and the grand design is so intricate and so just detailed too, you know, just to have everybody playing the part they need to play so that we can do what we need to do while we're here and learn what we need to learn as us, not being us.
right. And it makes sense that we wouldn't all be the same. We would all be different, following different paths, but there would be enough similarity that we could come together and share. But to put pressure on people to believe what you believe, to me, is that's what causes conflict. That's what causes discord, unhappiness.
Yeah, exactly.
Fear-based, wanting to save everyone, and all in the yeah,
I don't know if it was in our last video or it's the conversations we've had since, but talking about how do you be, you know, like, I be me, freely be me, and you be you, freely be you. We don't encroach on each other, but we allow ourselves to have the differences of who we are, and we've forgotten how to do that.
Well, that was a poem.
Yeah, we've forgotten how to do that.
That was in this one poem, but I might have put that in another,
I think it was in something similar in the past.
But this was where I can be me and you can be you, separate and free with sources our glue.
Yeah. We're not encroaching on each other. We're allowing each other to be free. Yeah. And we've forgotten we think we have to be alike to be together. And, you know, versus, you know, you got to look like me, eat like me, live like me, have the same belief system as me. That's kind of the frame we've been living in. And now it's like, how do we allow each individual ray of source to be what it is and just let it be?
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think that we will go back to that once we get this underlying corruption out of our system, because we put that there to put us through struggle and strife, and in order to better understand what we don't want.
Yeah.
And we're coming
100%.
out of that. Huh?
I said 100% yes.
Yeah. And we're coming out of that. We're not out of it all the way. We're coming out of it. And that's what, for some people who focus on the lack of light, it can look dark. But that's our whole system. And right now, our justice system is on trial.
Yeah, it is. Well, and it goes back a little bit to the last video we talked about, is how you see it. Do you see it as light, things surfacing so light can be there, or do you see it as, you know, scary and traumatic and dark?
Right.
'Cause it may look dark to you unless you kind of feel into it and see the other side of that darkness. Let it erupt, let it come through, let it clear out, and then there's the light.
Well, that highlights what's going to be going on is that those people who see the dark, it's not our job as light workers or whatnot to to get them not to look at the dark.
Right.
They need to actually look at the dark and clear it, transmute it, so that they can then come into the light. If people are actually kind of talking to other people about how dark things are, how bad, look what they did to us and all that, they need to do that. That's their process of clearing. That's why all this is going to be coming up, so that people can clear this out. We can't take this denser stuff with us where we're going, because where we're going is we're building a new world, which is going to be made of higher light.
The thing you read to me the other day about becoming a champion without keeps popping in my head right now, and I'm wondering if that's related to this. I think there's some tie between that and what we're talking about right here.
I wrote this down. It wasn't meant to be on the list. I didn't know. I was just writing things down. I said, how do you go from contender mentality to champion mentality inside without beating yourself?
Yeah. And to me, there's that's inside of us, each of us, but collectively as well. It's like, how do we move from this fight mentality to this champion mentality without somebody beating somebody being.
You have to know, you have to find out how strong you are. And in order to do that, you have to have something to fight against.
Well, that's what we believe.
Well, you're hitting, you're hitting on that. What I was talking about, contender mentality, the mentality of a contender is different than a contender of a champion. A champion believes they earn the right to be called champion. And then there's a certain swagger that comes with being a champion that a contender doesn't have. A contender is in lack. A champion is in abundance. That's what this was highlighting. How do we get from contending with lack to being a champion of abundance inside without feeling we need to beat something or ourselves or fight someone or whatnot? That's what that whole thing was about.
And I feel the essence of that with what we're talking about with the darkness and the light, without, how do we move from the dark heaviness to the light without having to beat something, without having to have war, without having to have,
that is going. There's going to be plenty of people that are going to be calling for arrest, and then there are going to be people calling for executions once they find out what has been done to us. And it's not my job to tell them no. They're going to go away and they're going to do whatever they're. I'm not going to put any energy in that. I already forgive them. I forgive them all because I put them up to it. I put them up to it to give me strife and struggle so that I can figure out what I don't want. Now I know absolutely without a doubt that is what I do not want. I'm not going to give it any more energy, even negative energy. I'm not going to sit there and put it down or whatever. That's still giving it energy. I am now focused my attention on what I want my life to be about.
Well, if you think about Abraham Hicks has talked for years about law of attraction and what she refers to as the vortex. And it's like you put into the vortex by the discomfort you have and things you don't want. So when you recognize the thing you don't want, you're putting out into the universe what you want, and you can only receive that what you want when you turn to being in what makes your heart sing and being in that positive.
Being in the appreciation mode. Yeah.
And aligning yourself with that, your belief systems and things like that, with that, so that can come into your reality, because otherwise we're constantly feeding into that.
Yeah, your vibrational escrow. It's like, what are you putting into your vibrational escrow? And you've got to, once you align to it, it just comes to you. And whatever it is that you're aligning to.
Well, that goes along with, well, sort of. It depends on how you, I mean, from a perspective. I wrote this other items down. Along the spectrum, if checkers holds your interest, you'll get off there. If that's too simple, you'll go on to chess. If that's too simple, you'll go on to poker. If that's too simple, you'll go on until you find an endeavor that's complicated enough to hold your attention. What that's saying is there's going to be a shakeup. This was going on anyway, but now there's going to be a shakeup. People are going to be rattled. People are going to be pushed around as far as just the energy.
They already are.
Right. That's already occurring. Yeah. But at some point, and some people are going to try to go back into their old rut, their old patterns. Yeah. And depending on their higher self, whether, it'll be up to their higher self whether or not they're allowed to go back into those old patterns. My suspicion is that a lot of those old patterns won't be available anymore. Right. So then it's more to finding. It's not necessarily finding your calling, which it is, but it's not like the old paradigm. It's finding the endeavor that sings to you. Like, I feel there's a need to go over to Africa and help them with potable water. It's more people are going to have those type of callings. Maybe it's not over in Africa. Maybe it's in Detroit. Maybe it's not going to be for so much for money. It's going to be something that's going to sing to your heart.
Something for the greater good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Potentially, yeah.
Greater of the collective that they're responding to.
Right.
It may not be, they may not be able to see how it rolls up to the great collective consciousness. And that's fine. They don't need to. When they're ready, their higher self will share that with them.
Yes.
In the meantime, it's kind of like what I talked about in one of the poems, is building communities of tomorrow, and do it today. What are those? Well, it's breaking down these old patterns that we've fallen into, where money has greased the ways. Even if you don't like to think that you are prone to following money, we all need money to live. That's kind of what we've been fed. And how do we get out of that and still survive? Well, we have to at some point believe that we're going to be okay. We don't need as much of those things that they sell us, that they convince us we do.
Yeah.
We need a lot less. More people can get by on less food
than what we think
than we think you can. You've seen how much food, how little food I eat. And then I'm doing a kind of experiment. It's fine. Plus, if I try to eat more, then my stomach goes crazy.
Yeah.
But, I barely eat at all anymore. It seems like I'll be hungry. I'll make a meal and I'll eat like a quarter of it, and then end up giving it to someone else in the family. I'm like, here, you can have the rest. But it's like I'm nibbling, and it's more plant-based. I'm kind of listening to what my body wants instead of what my old body would want.
Yeah, but it's food, it's the drugs, it's all the things that we have been living with in our society. We were born into it, and it's almost like All right, you've got your choice between drugs, alcohol, gambling,
Sugar.
sex, sugar. Um,
Yeah.
pick your
Pick your
poison.
poison. Pick your poison.
You said it. You said it too. Pick your poison.
Take your
Mhm.
poison.
It's that's exactly what it is. You pick your
Mhm.
poison. It's
Mhm.
it's hard not to pick at least one. We need our distraction.
Yeah.
We need something
Yeah.
to be hooked on.
Yep. Well, and also what came up as you were talking about that was the fact that not having money is a convenient excuse for not doing it.
Mhm.
So if we see a need and we go, well, we don't have the money to buy this or do that in order to fix it, then it's like it gives you a convenient reason of saying, well, it can't be done, versus just going, this needs to be done. How are we going to do this?
Yeah.
And so it's become both ways. It's kind of like a tool to, we see it, have to have it as a resource, but then we also can use it as a convenient excuse as to why we're not going to put our energies into
Yep.
doing something. And then it's okay to say no to yourself,
Mhm.
or to your community.
Well, there's probably a lot of people who are already thinking along these lines. It just hasn't become exactly clear how it's going to break out or
Mhm.
how things are going to get resolved. I believe that a more knowing is going to come online to all of us. And you'll just start to see this path clear away before you and realize the things you don't need anymore and things you can start to wean yourself off of.
Mhm.
Uh, it's funny because I'm reading some of these other things I've written, and I told you I didn't think they were list items,
Yeah.
but now I'm thinking they are. The other one I wrote down was play your game in your bubble with the people playing according to your rules while they grapple with their game rules bumping into your game rules.
Mm.
Eventually, they'll begin to play by more of your rules in their bubble or go away to reconcile the difference in rules.
Mm.
It's you treating them the way you want to treat them in your world, even if they're pushing you away, not to
Mhm.
treat them that way.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. And let them go away and find a harmony,
Mhm.
find a reconciliation with it. So there's that one.
They're making it easy to go. Let them go is what I'm feeling like lately
Yeah.
in my existence.
Yeah.
They're making it very easy and peaceful to make it be like, okay, go do your thing.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So another one was most people are pieces on the game board, not players. To be a player, you have to accept that a game is being played, you have a mission, and you accept the responsibility of the mission and accept that you affect other pieces. Now, eventually, everyone's going to come to realize this.
Mhm.
If they don't realize it, it's because they're off learning something else.
Mhm.
But the ones that are starting to get aligned more with their higher self and are starting to feel that higher calling, I believe these are people that are being called up from being pieces to being players.
Mhm.
Now, it may sound like a great promotion, but there's a lot more responsibility because as a player, you now are going to be impacting with your intent
Mm-hmm.
the pieces
Mhm.
that are not players, and they don't realize how they're being influenced.
Mhm. Yeah. There's a lot more responsibility in
Yeah.
that. Mhm.
Um, Another one was our world is out of balance, and it is now time to lend your balance to her in finding her new balance and your place with her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
everyone's balance is going to shift because the whole world's balance is shifting.
Yeah.
So
And that's really what people, I think, are feeling right now, because it's like there's a movement and a teetering, and people saying that's weird, or I feel weird today, or those kind of things. Those shifting balances are already happening.
Yeah.
They're having to realign themselves.
yeah. So another one, which I thought was just for me, and I realized that that's not the case. Is you were suppressed of a higher calling and stature until this time in order to not be weighed down with the consequences earlier.
Okay.
Now your higher purpose calls to you and seeks an answer in your willingness to expand to be able to hold its responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because times are different, and you can do it now if you're willing to.
Yeah. So I believe there's a lot of you
Mm-hmm.
that are capable of doing much more than has ever been asked of you in your career.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
A higher calling, a higher stature never found its way to you because your higher self didn't want you to get mired down in that 3D
Mm-hmm.
career trap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Totally. It never worked out. Whenever I tried it, it was just
Right.
never, it didn't work out.
But
Yep.
now that higher purpose is calling to you to see if you're ready for the responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm ready. Sometimes I feel ready. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah. And I was going to say, and tie that to the earlier one, that doesn't mean it's going to be a easy pathway to stand up in your responsibility. It's going to require strength and
Well, I think
balance, and it's not going to be impossible, but it's also not going to be.
Okay. I mean, I hear where you're coming from, but
Yeah.
I kind of I'm leaning towards the light instead of the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because then we believe it's got to be hard, I guess it's got to be hard. But
Yeah.
if we believe it,
Yeah. I'm thinking that the energies coming in is starting to loosen the holds that have been on us,
Mm-hmm.
and those are going to start shaking loose.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, people are going to they're going to start going, oh, look how dark it is and whatever, but they're going to shake through that,
Mm-hmm.
and things are going to start becoming clearer and clearer.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to become easier to reach that higher purpose once you clear away those obstacles.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there are a lot of people with lots and lots of obstacles, but I also believe that there are a lot of people kind of in that middle ground with just a few obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
And once they can maybe sever those few boat anchors,
Mm-hmm.
I think the accepting of that higher purpose, that higher calling for more responsibility will, I think it'll be easier to reach. I think they'll be freer
Yeah.
to find it and hear its calling.
Yeah. When I was thinking of the difficulty, I'm thinking of comfort versus discomfort. So.
Yeah, but the generalities of difficulty,
Mm-hmm.
It has a tendency to pull in the darker, the denser energies and get stuck there.
Yeah.
It's one thing to say, well, it's going to be difficult for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's another to say, well, I think it's a challenge you're up for.
Mm-hmm.
It will be challenging, but I believe you've been setting yourself up for this, and
you were made for this. You got this. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
yeah. There's a little different. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
We all came down here expecting difficulty.
Right.
So
it's part of the game.
Difficulty is, I mean, it's inherent in everything that we're down here doing, pretty much. So I I don't want to get to it goes without saying, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that. But I don't think we need to really focus on it.
Mm-hmm.
I would, I think I'm leaning more towards what I believe my mission is, that when people do come to me and ask me a question about, um, you know, what am I in for, and you know, um, where am I going, or what
Mm-hmm.
is, you know, here's what I'm faced with. What does it sound like to you? It's not that I don't want to address the difficulty, but I want to blend it in
Mm-hmm.
to the joy in meeting the challenge,
Yes.
the happiness that's just over the hill,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
and say that it's all a matter of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the more
It's
perspective,
darkest just before the dawn.
Mm-hmm. Which wraps back to what we were
yeah.
talking at the beginning.
But it's trying to get people to willing to want to have multiple perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have just one perspective, you're kind of
Mm-hmm.
at the will of the wind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's great when it's up, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not so great when it's down. So to have multiple perspectives, because you, to me, that's seeing through other people's eyes and other people's heart.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll bring us closer together. It'll also insulate us from that difficulty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then again, what do I know?
You know what came up when you were talking
You're
about?
just a poet. You're just a poet. What do you know?
Yeah, no, I just write words.
Well, what that came up, the visual came up when you were talking about is a sailboat with the different sails. If you only have one sail versus if you have multiple sails, that kind of image came up in my mind when you were describing that aspect. So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, yeah, I see that, but
Yeah.
I'm also thinking of a fleet of sailboats,
Mm.
Mm.
and that, um, yes, I'll be on my own sailboat and I have to manage my own sails.
Mm-hmm.
But if I run into any difficulty, there's plenty of
Mm-hmm.
people that are around
Yes.
that I can, um, maybe ask for assistance,
Mm-hmm.
not hand my problems over to them.
Right. Yes. Yeah. By that.
So,
Mm-hmm. Cool.
well,
That's very good.
for a list that I thought was going to be really short.
And items that you didn't think were on the list that came
Mhm.
the other day.
They made me read the first poem. I'm just saying. I'm just kidding.
It was so good, though.
Yeah, I think it was now. Oh shoot. Yeah, it's very good. I'm
Mhm.
looking forward to physically reading them because it's different for me when I hear them,
Yeah.
and when I actually read through them, I can see other things as well. So
So you're implying that I'm going to type this up.
we're starting a book of Star Dragon Brood poetry.
That was Jenny's idea.
It was.
Good. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll begin ignoring that right away.
Awesome.
That's funny.
All
So,
right.
well, anything else before we wrap up? You good?
Yeah, I'm overdone.
You're overdone. Yep, I'm complete.
Me
All
too.
right.
Good.
Bye.